Finishers MMA, finishersmma.com, at Finishers. That's how you find them on social media. These guys have a show with us every Monday called Now We Go. You can check it out. Zach, JM, Thor, Grace, there's too many to name that come out of that school, and they are killers in the game. They are the biggest MMA jiu-jitsu school in the area, and they are owning the East Coast. You can contact them at 610-438-0746. Ask for Andrew. They are at 3761 Nicholas Street in Easton, PA. They have 2 locations as of now, Bethlehem and Allentown. They are growing into 3, 4, 5, 6. I would say they are taking over, but they already have. Check them out on all of their social media. They are awesome to follow. And if you're looking to get in shape, you're looking to choke people, you're looking to do anything at all to better your life, finishersmma.com. AllValleyRooter.net. That's not how you pronounce it all the time. I just say it that way. All Valley Rooter, Jared LaBarba. He is my plumber. He's the show's plumber. I'm getting him plumbing business all over, and I love that he is getting what he wants. He has 24-hour emergency service. He is certified, insured, and professional. You can follow him at All Valley Rooter. He's on social media, and you can find his information at allvalleyrooter.net. Jared came down over the weekend and he fixed a problem down here. He's super professional. I love him as a person. I love his business. He grew it, and he's doing his own thing. It's allvalleyrooter.net. It's 24-hour professional plumbing services. He can help you out with everything you need. It's 610-762-1656. He's certified, insured, and professional. Do not be afraid to contact him for any of your plumbing needs. Support Jared. Jared supports us. Luke Delmeyer Handmade Custom Knives. I love Luke. It's lukedelmeyer.com. He's a farrier, a bladesmith, and a blacksmith. He has custom knives, and the best part about it is you can take classes to make them. So not only can you take a class to learn how to make knives, at the end of the class, you get that knife. We're working on a project together. He started recently getting into chef knives, so he's starting to make chef knives. He makes hunting knives. He can make any of your needs as far as blacksmithing. That's at Luke Delmeyer on Instagram. That is the best way to follow him. You can see all the stuff that he's posting. He shares, he does raffles, he gives giveaways. Check out all things Luke Delmeyer at lukedelmeyer.com. We've had him on the show before. You can dig down in the library, listen to how he got started and where he's at now. I'm excited to work with Luke. He's a really good friend of the show, and I'm excited to showcase his chef knife that he's making me. Check out all things Luke Delmeyer at lukedelmeyer.com. Farrier, bladesmith, blacksmith. Rips Auto Detail. This guy is the best, hands down, in the area. I've interviewed him. I know his story. He's doing things that others aren't, and I love that he fucks with the show. I love getting the best of the best and having them support and be a part of this. That's what the sponsorship is for. I'm giving you the best people in their profession, and Rips is the best at auto detail. It's at Rips Auto Detail for Instagram. You follow that. He's showing you the different cars he does, and it's at 630 North Nelson Street in Allentown, PA. He offers paint correction, ceramic, SPS coatings, and more. This is appointment only, and it's ripsautodetail@gmail.com. You can call him at 484-553-1366. I tell you, follow him. If you don't know, you want to know more about what he does, follow him on Instagram. Follow Rips Auto Detail, and you can see all the things that Rip does. He's a big part of the show. We have a separate show we do called Road Dogs, and you can check out his past interviews and hear his whole story. I couldn't recommend this guy more for your auto, car, boat, plane. This guy literally has done everything, and he is the best in the area doing this. Rips Auto Detail. Never Again Radio. This will probably be episode 183, 84. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Welcome to Never Again Radio.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm. We have crossed paths through the school at Finishers. You support my food, which I love. I started following you on social media. You're a very interesting person. We never get time to actually talk. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna have him on and get to know him on the show. It's pretty cool being able to, set a timer and have an hour or whatever to get into your story. We talked a little bit yesterday, but I kind of want to pull back what you've done early on and how you got into martial arts, how you teamed up with the guys from Finishers, and then we'll just bullshit and have some beers.
Yeah, man. Well, I guess I first got into martial arts like way back. When I was 16, there was this really terrible MMA gym because it was all so new back then.
The same as what's her Britney's podcast.
So not to steal from her, but
yeah, no,
it was literally in the middle of a nowhere barn in
Yeah.
southern Alabama, and you would come pay $20, and they would find somebody, quote, about
Is that where you're
your
from,
size.
Alabama?
Georgia, but
Yeah.
I was right there on the line. And then I was 16, so I had to have my mom sign me up to fight grown men.
What was her thoughts on it? She just wanted you out of the house?
Yeah, she just wanted me doing something.
Yeah.
And the first one I did, I had a little bit of karate experience.
Yeah.
So I got my ass kicked by some grown guy who was actually really about it.
Yeah.
And I think I had, 2 or 3 like that, and it kind of turned me away from that. And that's really the only athletic martial arts thing I ever did as a kid.
Yeah. I've always wanted to do it as a kid, but I never am that's the kind of thing that I always promote about Finishers is that it makes you feel welcome. But I was always nervous about going in and having a class and being around a bunch of people. And it was just always intimidating for me to do anything like that. So I get where if you actually do it and then somebody fucks you up, you might not want to do it again if you're a kid.
Yeah. What you'd think, any self-respecting promoter or business owner in that wouldn't let
it happen.
Kid they don't even know. Sure, fight this guy.
Especially if you're a grown man.
Yeah.
He probably went into work. Was yeah, fuck this dude up.
I've always been the type of person if somebody tells me I won't do something or I can't,
Yeah.
it might not be good for me, but I'm going to do it now at this point.
Yeah.
Same exact way I joined the military.
Yeah, so then you were 16, did a little bit of the martial arts, and then what drew you to wanting to join the military?
I was just a really rough kid, I guess, just for no other reason but to be a piece of crap kid, and it got to that point where, everybody in that town, it's a very small town, gets to where it's if you're not going to college or if you don't have a set path with family through farming, a lot of times is the big business, you kind of have to either join the military or, fall in with a rougher crowd. And so my mom kind of pushed me into that.
Yeah.
And,
I feel like back then, or, when you're growing up like that, I remember my parents being you're either going to work in a factory or you're going to go to college. It's not how it is now where you have you could do a lot of different things. You kind of you have these set paths, and then you kind of, if you listen to somebody, you can actually go in a direction, or you could totally hang out with the wrong people.
Right.
So then, did you like the military? What was it like meeting up with the recruiter? Or, were you fuck, I don't want to do this?
Basically it went through who could get me gone the fastest.
Yeah.
And I'd previously spoken with recruiters, just how they come to schools and everything.
Yeah.
And my mom was about it. I remember
sure.
waking up one morning, and she's like, "Hurry up, get dressed. The recruiter's on his way."
Oh, so that she told them to come to the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I asked him the fastest, and he's they had somebody drop out, so they could get me gone within a month, I think. And I was like,
That's quick.
Perfect. That's great.
Yeah,
So,
probably until it came up on it, and you're like, fuck, what'd I do?
Yeah, I signed up. It was obviously a big culture shock coming right out of high school,
Yeah.
meeting a lot of different types of people. And then,
Yeah, because if you're from a small town and then you get dropped into a pool of people like that, especially people that you don't know and
Right.
just all strangers, and it's fucking weird.
yeah, so took some getting used to. But ultimately, I think the military experience was good for me. It was very conducive into getting me
Discipline
straightened
and
out.
shit like
Right,
that, yeah.
Stuff I needed literally had to be force fed, but it worked out. And then also I was forced to be more active and more physical. It's just the kind of culture.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'd never really done anything like that. As soon as something got physically hard before, I was like, I don't have to do this, so I'm out.
Yeah. But then it kind of fits your personality well, because if you're the type of person where you're like, well, tell me I can't do that, and they're yelling in your face all day, you're like, oh, let's go, motherfucker. And then plus it's going to push you to kind of mold yourself in a way that you were just not being because you were lazy. You're kind of like the perfect candidate for being in the military.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And then others, I do feel like I had a problem with authority at certain points. There's some, fun stories to definitely get in.
Did you get in trouble a lot?
Recorded. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, like a few guys respect. I feel like I had some really good mentors that I'm really thankful to have, especially with the way my military, I can't even call it career, short-lived. But, the experience was.
Yeah.
I kind of got thrown... Literally, as soon as I was done training, we got rolled into a workup for first deployment. So I'm like, this 18-year-old know-nothing kid. I'm like, hold up, like, man.
That's crazy. Where was where was your training at? Was that down south?
Yeah,
yeah.
South
Because my dad was
Carolina.
in Vietnam, and I remember, over the years, he didn't get into it right away, but I mean, for over the past 30 years, I kind of get bits and pieces of it.
Right.
But I think they went to Texas or something. He said he was down south. I just remember he said it was hot. It was
Parris
very
Island,
hot.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible place. And then
What was training like? Was that something that like was hard for you to get through, or it was just kind of you're pushed through it?
physically, I adjusted really well, but
Yeah.
mentally, like it took some time getting used to. They're really good at kind of just breaking you down, getting everybody on the same train of thought, I guess, with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I took to it. I like to think I took to it fairly well.
Yeah.
Somebody telling me exactly what to do, how to do it.
Did you like any aspects of the training? Where like when you were into it, when you were there, were you like, oh, like this, you did see a path to like things you would want to do, or like, is there things that you were being drawn to before they just kind of threw you in everything?
My personal experience, no.
Yeah.
Because I went into it thinking, I wouldn't stay in for a long time, so I chose to have you get, a dream sheet, basically, of like, I want this job if I can't have this one, and then third. What I didn't know is I was supposed to be a aircraft avionics electrical engineer. What I didn't know is if you take somebody else's spot,
You do what they were supposed
you're
to
going
do?
to take their job. So I didn't know.
What was their job?
Artilleryman, cannoneer. So just loading 100-pound rounds over and over.
Oh my God. That's totally different.
There's more to it than
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
different jobs, but it was like when I got that training request form, I was like, that's
not
wrong.
what I
That's
was
not
going
for me, homie. I'm supposed to be chilling. Like, what is this?
Air conditioning.
Right.
So then when you said that they kind of just threw you into some shit right out of training, where did they put you?
We went to Kajaki Dam in the Helmand province. There was actually a New York Times article written about us and pictures of some people.
Is that what you were posting the other day? When somebody
might
like
have.
tagged you in something and they were like, I didn't know.
Oh, no. Some asshole made a TikTok of our non-lethal training and us getting OC sprayed.
Yeah. That's what it was.
But yeah, we went to, it was hailed as like the Taliban's last, great outpost. Like what they really wanted to take over was that dam because it supplied, so much electricity to such a great portion. It was a key point, I guess.
And that's what you got put into as soon as you were out of
Right.
training?
And it was
What the
fairly, fairly active
Yeah.
area at the time as well. So we got told like a lot of, grim stuff leading up to it and everything. It was a very different mood going into that than what,
Yeah.
I'm used to, especially,
Yeah, that's got to be a reality check with going into that and then kind of having this idea what you're doing and then taking somebody's spot and then being kind of put into not only the thick of it, but a big thing that's going on. I mean, that'd be fucked up.
Yeah, no. Definitely, and then things that transpired on that deployment as well, being, so young.
Yeah.
Like at the time, it kind of walked by. I was just like, whatever, I'm here doing this thing. But, looking back, that stuff's like, wow, that's, it's pretty deep if you want to look at it on an intellectual or even psychological level. Like why certain things can happen after that then.
Yeah, every once in a while I would see documentaries on like Vietnam, and then I would think about what I was doing at 18. And like the older you get, the more you kind of realize like the mind frame you were in at that time. Like I look at my 20s and I was like, yo, you were so stupid. But like to be 18 and then be like shipped off to Vietnam, or like to be young and be put in these situations, like you said, you kind of are in it. But then when you look back on it, it's got to be like, what the fuck, man? Like that was crazy.
Yeah. But you know, getting through that, and really that was like, I guess the high point, or rather the climax of the majority of my service. And a lot of where a lot of my injuries came from. It was just a very like jaded feeling after.
Yeah.
You know,
well, you got into your, I don't mean to interrupt, but you got into your injuries yesterday when we were on the phone. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Been through it. Not to be like that guy, like, oh, I'm so injured, but that's another thing that's fun to look back and like, you know, what I can do now compared to where I was 5, 6, 7, whatever years ago. Some of it, you know, couldn't really help. It wasn't me necessarily doing something actively, but a lot of it's just being young, dumb, and thinking I'm fucking invincible and I'll bounce back forever.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, no, it's not the same thing. But my back's blown out from doing dumb shit when I was a kid. Everybody telling me, don't pick it up that way. Yeah, whatever.
That's where I'm at now.
Yeah,
you know? I'm in full circle. And I think that's another big reason though, being injured, being told like, hey, you probably won't be able to do such and such or this again. Like it really like it triggers that mindset. Like, well, I'm going to now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, really plan how to be stronger, bigger, what have you, and base it off of that. You know, just to have like that good comeback feeling.
Yeah. Especially when someone tells you, I mean, when you went through your knees and everything yesterday, I'm surprised you're doing half the shit that you do following on social media.
Yeah. Man, just slow working at it, just over and over and over again. I finally had ACL graft, you know, surgery done. What was that, January? I probably should have had that done forever ago. You know, I always was scared of the recovery time, being out from doing what I want to do. But man, I feel so much stronger now. I wish I would have done it, you know, like 5 years ago.
Yeah. So you got out, you know, well, you went through your thing that the New York Times did the write-up on, and that must have been surreal to get through. And then you're out of the service and you're jaded towards things. So where do you pick your life up after that?
I worked as a personal trainer for a very brief period. And man, like being a certified personal trainer is not jack shit. It's so easy to do. And man, when I realized that, when I took this, it was supposed to be a 10-week course, and I blazed through the book and got certified in like literally a weekend. It was just like, man, there's not really a lot to being certified. You're just paying money to have somebody seal on you. So that's when I started looking at like so many different aspects of the training and everything, and it kind of made me fall off of that. I was like, I don't feel good charging people money for something that's so simple that they could literally learn in a week. And so I started getting into jiu-jitsu a lot more. But
Were you in the area at this time?
No. So this is 2014, 2015. And I'm working out of South Georgia, North Florida, you know, that little tri-state area with Alabama mixed in. And not really doing a whole lot, honestly. I was going through college, but just picking a different major every other time. And nothing real significant. Until, you know, I moved up here. That's when I really got into like strength training and the strongman events, just because that community is up here, meeting people through finishers.
Yeah, how did you start? Because that's what I was going to, you know, when you were going through all that, like, have you always been into like training and exercise and like, yeah, you're a big dude. Have you always, like when you were in the military, were you in shape and like, you know, did you fall in love with kind of the exercise and the routine and the ritual of it through the military, or was it something you found afterwards for a release? Like,
I'd say it's something I found out I could do in the military, because I was always, like I said, a small kid, never really did anything athletic.
What do you mean you for a small kid?
I was really small. I was probably 170 to 180 pounds, like skinny fat in high school, all through high school. And then I hit a growth spurt either in boot camp or right after, and I started, stacking on weight and actually getting in the gym and lifting. But nothing really concise. It was just like like who can bench the most, who can squat the most, like simple, I guess, bro lifts.
Yeah, I kind of like how, I don't know, like I remember when I was in football, like that's the shit you would do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just football training, like big weight shit like that.
Really
that was back then, not now.
Didn't have time, to I guess put together a solid program in the military.
Yeah, that's true too.
You're always
Getting yelled at. That's how I picture it.
But yeah, I got offered a job up here to help manage a greenhouse over in Phillipsburg.
How the fuck did you get involved with a greenhouse?
One of my friends works for Bonnie Plants, and they had an opening and asked me if I would come up, and I saw that Bethlehem was close, and I already knew about, obviously like the top people in this area. I knew it was good for jiu-jitsu, and I was, starting to get more serious in jiu-jitsu at the time, so I was like, well, shit, like, that's just to drive across the river, and I can train with these really good people, because down south there's not a whole lot of, good people in that sport.
Yeah.
It's hard to find even tournaments unless you're driving for a while. And about a month into my stay up here, I was like, well, shit, like, I could live up here.
Yeah.
This is a lot nicer than Georgia.
Really?
Yeah, so I flew my wife up here. We started talking about it, and then, the rest is history. Now we own a house up here, training pretty much full-time. It's good. Getting into the strongman community up here, that's a thing.
How long were you in Jersey at the greenhouse working there?
Just 3 months.
Yeah.
We came on towards the end of the season.
Yeah, just needed something to kind of float over and then see if you liked the area.
I had a gym at the time, and it wasn't doing as well as I wanted. And I kind of wanted, like, just a fresh start, somewhere new, doing some new stuff, get some fresh ideas going.
You ever work in a greenhouse before?
No. So that was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
I only ask because when I was when I was a senior, they had a co-op program. So basically, they sit you down and then they politely be like, "Hey, you're probably gonna end up working after school." Like, I look back on it now, and they were basically being like, "Yeah, you're not going to college." So they were like, "Look, we have this program where you can just start into the workforce now, and you can start understanding what it's going to be like to work." And I'm like, "What? This sounds stupid." And then they were like, "But you can leave at noon." And I was like, "What?" And they were like, "Yep, you can take your 4 majors," which I think was like English, social studies, like your basics for that. And then I think I had to take religion. And then my last class was gym. And then so I basically would take 4 classes, have gym, and then leave. And I was like, "Where can I work?" And they were like, "Well, you can work over at Buzz's greenhouse." And I was like, "Well, what am I going to do there?" And he's like, "Dude, it'll be totally easy for you. You're a bigger kid. You're just, you're planting flowers and stuff like that." And then when I got there, his daughters owned 3 horses. And then I was chosen once a week to shovel horse shit and clean out all the horse stalls. And I remember it sucked because I had to bring a bag of dirty clothes, so my locker always smelled like horse shit. And I remember approaching the teacher and being like, "Yo, dude, you didn't say anything about this at all, about how I was going to have to clean these horse stalls." And he's like, "Yo, you signed up. I'm not finding you another job. Stick it out." And I'm glad I did. Like, the owner was awesome, but like I learned a lot, like working in the greenhouses. It's a weird thing that I don't know a lot of people did, which is why like I'm asking you about it. But like, I didn't mind it. Like, we planted flowers. We worked inside the greenhouses, and there was like, some farm style work. But it wasn't anything I minded. It was just, it was like blue collar work, which I've done all the time. But what did you do at the greenhouse?
We just helped rearrange stuff. It had this huge long line, and there were several greenhouses connected.
Yeah.
It was a lot harder than it looks, because each tray coming down is like 300 pounds. And it's like, it doesn't stop. From the time you get there at 5 in the morning till you're ready to leave at 6 p.m., it's something's always moving, so you've got to constantly rearrange.
So it's like they basically are selling the stuff, and then you have to keep putting out new stuff.
It's going out
so it's
on
like coming
trucks.
off the truck. Yeah. This the place I was at was a little bit smaller of an operation, but that was very similar, like Easter and shit like that with like the holidays. Like it was crazy there, but I didn't mind the work. And I also didn't mind leaving at 12 o'clock every day. And then after I graduated, I was like, oh yeah, you're not going to college. I'm like, what are you going to do? So when you were kind of back in the area, or you're now in the area and you start going over to the school, where was the school at the time? Because now it's
It was over by Redner's, in Easton.
Yeah. All right.
It was
Yeah.
at that location still.
Yeah, I think when I met them, it was over by Jimmy John's, and it was across from, I think it's like over by Easton High School, because I was working at the cheesesteak place. And then that's why when they got into the newest spot, it was crazy to me on how they grew it into the 3 different spots. So you came over to Redner's then, and you just started kind of mixing in with the guys at the school?
Yeah, no, and then I clicked with the majority of the people really well. Just had a different feel. Like jiu-jitsu up here is much different than it is down south. Down south, there's still a lot of the, I guess, say traditionalists, and the competition scene is nowhere near as dense. So it's a more high-paced vibe up here, and I really liked that.
Yeah. Zach and JM said their yin and yang of how they are is like the perfect combination to, they literally can outfit anybody walking through that door as far as like personalities. And then it also makes the school so different, but like you also know it's the same. Like there's so many different styles of people there, but they're all there for one purpose. But being introduced to that community and being kind of on the sidelines, that is one of the coolest communities, and the people are so awesome, and it's a totally different atmosphere walking into that place. So now you come over there and you start training with those guys. Then what kind of opened up the different lanes for getting into like the competition lifting and all that? And then did you start getting into doing tournaments with jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I've competed, nothing on a large stage or anything, but I am a very competitive person when I feel I am, at a level where I can compete. As far as the lifting, like really it got in that when I started researching just grip strength. Like I've got so many weird tools. Some of them I don't even use anymore because I've kind of written them off.
Yeah, when did you get into just, because there's so many weird things, not weird, but like there's so many things from your social media that I had so many questions about. When did you get into like the style of training that you do where you're like moving boulders and like the fucking hammer shit, and like where did that all come into play?
I'd say either February or March of this year, honestly.
Oh, so it's all fairly new.
Yeah, when I got that surgery, I knew I was going to be out as far as, using my leg for a while. I was on a cane for, I don't know, a month, and then limited mobility a month after that.
That's gotta suck.
Yeah, it was a really big like mental block. So I was like, what can I do? So I just started looking up a lot of random like just shit to lift.
Yeah.
Like what can I lift? Like I got a Husserl stone. I got pinch blocks. And I was just like, let's do what we can. And when I started, joining these forums and searching and like putting my numbers out there, people were like, that's kind of impressive. Like, how long have you been doing it? And then they're like, you should get this thing. And so I kept upgrading my basement until I could, felt comfortable with actually like squatting weight and loading weight onto my knee. And the basement gym just kept growing and growing.
I love the basement gym.
I do too. I miss it. I just recently had to move all that into the Pebon Primal Performance Gym that's inside Finishers HQ.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Bryant was gracious enough to let me move all my equipment in there and junk his place out now, so my wife can stop yelling at me.
Yeah, because I said like that style and the things that you do, it kind of crosses over with how he does things there. He doesn't have, and I want to bring him. JM interviewed him, but I'd love to interview him just because I have so many questions myself on like just what he does and how he carries himself and how much, I remember them walking that building before nothing was in there, and then seeing what he's done in that back room was super impressive. Now with you kind of getting these different things and so what made you feel comfortable enough to start competing, because then I saw it's such a fun follow because you just get into all this different stuff. But then the one day I saw you competing and I'm like, holy shit, this went from the fucking basement picking up boulders to now this dude's competing. Was it, did you just start meeting people in the area that were also doing this, or was it like friends through the school? Or
yeah, there's a guy that has been training at the school for a while now, Steve Thorman. Not sure if I got the pronunciation exactly that way.
Steve's fun.
He's competed,
Yeah.
He's competed before, and he's fairly active with his training. And he invited me out to like their strongman gym with him and some of his friends. And I hadn't done deadlift in like so long, just because my lower back and my legs.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, and they were just like, "Here's what we're doing today. Blah blah blah. We're gonna do a press and this and this and this, like a mock meet." I was like, "All right, cool." And we get to the deadlifts, and everybody's like, Steve's going to blow us out of the water now. And I'm like, damn, Steve must be pretty strong. And we started going back and forth, and I'm like, damn, I'm pretty strong. And I forgot how high I went up there, but, like, all the guys were kind of like, if you actually trained for this and, like, had a good coach, like, you could probably get, 800 or something deadlift. And I'm like, what? No way. And so they kind of talked me into competing. And man, the strongman community is so nice. Like it was such a good feeling. Like guys that you're about to beat or you're trying to beat are cheering you to do it at the event. It's a cool feeling. It's very different than jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is everybody's always sizing you up, and it's this very silent, pressure-filled environment. Strongman, they're just like, fuck yeah, on everything.
Yeah. When you started getting into doing that, what was that like to start training then for competing? Because it seems like you get into some things and then you push yourself while you're in those things and you try and get to places, and most people wouldn't even, compete, or, sometimes they'll just push themselves in the gym, but they're not interested in doing that. But it seems from everything I've been talking about, including the military or even when you were a kid and went to the karate thing, like it seems like you always have this need to keep pushing yourself to like a further level, or like to, that competitive thing. Like where does that come from? Did that come from a kid, or is it something you gained in the military? Or is it just something you carried with you?
I really don't know. I go through waves, I guess, of being just highly motivated to do something, and then, points where I have to kind of work myself up to it. I guess I'm very prideful in the fact that, I might not do the best at something, but I can endure my own limitations long enough to at least finish the task I set out. I don't know if that makes sense.
No,
but,
it makes a lot of sense.
That's where I'm at in my headspace, like when I'm doing something tough. I might not set a record at it. I might not beat, other people with it, but I'm going to do it to prove to myself I can.
Yeah. And a lot of times, I mentioned a couple times on here, but I've had conversations with a couple people, and I told them what I want to do as far as like goals with this business and things. And they're like, man, that's a really high goal. And I'm like, yeah, but if I reach for the high goal and I get halfway, it's still further than I would have been if I would have just decided not to try and do anything at all. So, I mean, with you trying to, do these competitions and whatnot, regardless of what the outcome is, you've still forced yourself to compete, and putting yourself through that high level of pressure and doing all that, regardless of the outcome, that starts changing you as a person.
Yeah. And I mean, the goal is never to just compete either,
Yeah.
I'm not one of those guys who's like, man, I got out there and tried. Like, I'm going to be pissed if I fall short. But yeah, it does make me kind of, I guess, reach for a larger goal.
Yeah.
Aim high, miss high type thing, like you were saying.
Yeah. What was it like getting in the gym to actually start training? Like, what's training like to get ready for a competition like that? It's got to be totally different than training for jiu-jitsu and stuff like that.
Yeah. Obviously the rep ranges are much low, and I'm getting a lot more rest, but I'm also doing much heavier.
You have to change your diet up?
Yeah. So, when I'm looking to gain weight, I'll usually do that in a 4 to 6 week cycle, so I don't get too fat. I have like a plan of how much weight I want to gain. So I have a plan of how much I can keep when I try and diet down. So the diet for strongman is usually whatever I want, as long as I hit a certain protein and carbohydrate intake level.
Where'd you start learning how to do that? Just researching?
Yeah, I mean, macronutrient dieting is so basic, like, protein, carbs, fats. And that's like something people charge money for, which goes back to, why I got so disillusioned by the, personal training gig. It felt like a scam because you can look up how to do that yourself. Super simple. And just finding out what works for me, what foods react well, what foods, don't react well, maybe cause some inflammation, stuff I like to eat, how I can combine it. Because hitting the protein I need to hit is not fun. I say, hey, I can eat whatever I want, but it's like I have to force myself through a lot of
put us through a day of what you would have to do.
Getting ready for that last one, I would wake up and I would have 2 cups of egg white, a cup of whole milk, a serving of whole milk Greek yogurt, 2 scoops of protein powder, like this 80 to 95 gram protein shake. I would just blend that together and choke it down. And then I would go for a hike, like 45 minutes to 60 minutes with the dog and a weight vest. And that's like the only cardio I would do. Would be very low intensity, just walking around, come back, and then I would eat like a 4 to 5 egg omelet.
Are you even hungry after doing that? No. Oh my God.
No. And I mean, this isn't the smartest way to do it. This was literally me writing math down on paper, like I need to get this number today.
Yeah.
And it changes depending on, did I get enough sleep? Did I have a high enough output, at the workout yesterday? What is my workout today? I like to track sleep more than anything. If I get, where I need to be with sleep, with REM, and my heart rate is
how do you track your sleep?
I like the Whoop strap. It's not 100% accurate. I'm not paid by Whoop, but it works for me, It helps me get accurate enough. And I feel it. Like, it'll tell you, like, hey, you didn't sleep enough. And sometimes I'm like, I feel fine. But that's the biggest thing is resting enough. Because, you're pulling a truck as part of your workout. Or you're deadlifting upwards of 600 pounds for, more than one rep, multiple sets.
That's got to be... I would say like it's for somebody who's competitive and then for somebody who enjoys this style of stuff, like training for that, it's got to be fun. It's got not fun, but like it's got to feel accomplished, like going towards doing all this stuff.
Yeah, especially if you beat personal best or something on a lift, which isn't very often in the lead up. But like maybe I'm a little faster carrying something this week than I was 2 weeks ago. I love it. Yeah, the workouts are fun. That's another thing that keeps me like really motivated to do better with it. It's fun stuff. Go carry 4 weird shaped things that are 100, 200, 300, 400 pounds, and work your way up. Excuse me. Just odd tests of strength, like the loud bar lifts. It does.
That's what I liked about following you. Is I was like, he's doing all these odd
and I feel
things.
Like I should post it more, but then I'm just like, man, I've got 19 posts of me just picking weird shit up. Like, let me throw a picture of me and my wife in there,
Yeah. Well, it's good to mix it up, but I also stopped caring about repetitiveness of it, and I started looking at it as like, hey, there might be somebody new that's following that'll want to do it. I love your social media. I think it's funny and fun, and it's why I was interested in even doing this, because I just started seeing you pick up all these weird things, and I'm like, man, what an obscure thing to do for all this, but it's now making sense. When you said that you go hiking and you wear that weight vest, I go hiking every day, or try to every day. How much benefit do you get out of wearing that weight vest?
Just more resistance.
Yeah.
Like, I'll feel my, my calves get a lot tighter, and, I just like resistance on my knee at a low impact way.
Yeah.
I've just started, like, I'm always doing something to rehab the knee. Like, I'm almost obsessive over it. I always try and throw it either in my stretching, like my cool down, or something that day is strengthening hamstrings, strengthening around the knee, things like that. Just because I'm like hyper paranoid. I've had it injured so many times.
Knees suck.
Yeah.
My knees are shot.
So training for the strongman, like, it's a lot of food and like a lot of rest.
Yeah, because you went through your breakfast, and what do you do for lunch then?
Usually a lot of rice or potatoes, and then I like the lean beef or chicken.
Yeah, and then is that what you do at dinner then? Is the beef and chicken?
I'll copy that meal twice, and then
By the time dinner comes, there's no way you're hungry.
I know, because you're getting home at like 9, and then you've got to eat something again. It sucks. I hate it.
But you probably also like torturing yourself.
It's rough. The eating is the hardest part, for sure. But I mean, right now sitting here, I'm 294 as of this morning, and so just to maintain the muscle mass and just the size on me, I have to eat, upwards of 3,700 calories.
Are you planning on competing again?
Yes. Man, I fell in love with it. I got bit hard by that bug.
Well, it seemed like you were having a really good time when I was watching what you were doing with it.
And then, balancing training for that competition versus training for a jiu-jitsu competition are so different because there's a lot more of a cardiovascular aspect I need to train. So right now I'm getting ready for more jiu-jitsu style competitions. And so obviously my lifts aren't going to be as high. I'm not trying to stack on weight, so the food is a lot less. And I'd say more cardio. And then
what do you do for your cardio? Do you up your hikes, longer hikes?
I like the bike. I still do the hikes.
Yeah.
But less hikes, more aerodyne bike and explosive movements. I like to be real active.
Is that what you're doing with Brian then?
Yeah. And I've got a few guys that have kind of like, taken notice. Like, have really told me, like, you don't just feel big, you feel much stronger than what we're used to. And so a few guys are kind of taking some things they like out of it and doing those workouts, telling me, yeah, I feel a lot stronger too. Like, cool, dude.
That's great.
I don't know how to look pretty, but I know how to lift heavy shit.
Yeah. That should be a shirt. What was I going to say? So you're getting ready to compete in more jiu-jitsu now, or
yes?
And then when will you pick up on the strongman again?
Well, the next jiu-jitsu competition I'm looking at, it's November, and it's probably good. I've got that much extra time to like really trim a lot of fat off and get down. I don't want to get down ever below
because then you have to go back up.
Because then it's such a fight.
I like that you go back and forth with it though. That's got to be awesome to have, two rabbit holes to go down to, because you know what I mean. They're kind of both like an obsessive training towards a goal, but then to be able to come out of the strongman and then be like, all right, we're going to cut down a little bit and we're going to go over here, and then when you come out of that, then you're going to ramp up, and it's like a really, it's an awesome way probably for your mental, but also to just kind of your physical, to just constantly be in shape and then constantly being active. And I think it's important that people stay active with things, but to be able to go from one to another and then not get bored in one, because then you can come over here. It makes sense what you do.
Well, I started all the grip and strongman training originally just to transfer, to strength on the mat in a match. And so I can say that I'm still doing PRs just in a different way, like having more success with how long I can carry something, or how long I can hold in a position now. I don't know how much the extra conditioning transfers over to, say, the strongman training on the reverse, but I definitely feel a lot stronger on the mat thanks to like sandbag grips and the bouldering and everything like that.
When you plan, I'm sorry, I got a little distracted from it, but when do you plan on doing the strongman again?
Probably as soon as this competition's over. I'll just look for something, maybe 2 months out or so, and just start doing a recomp there.
Yeah. Start
to gain weight. Because I do eventually want to move out of the novice and into like open class. And
I didn't even think of that. It's just like jiu-jitsu where there's different levels of the competition. So where you're starting at now is novice?
Yeah. Like I said, just getting my feet wet with that stuff. But ultimately my goal with the strongman is to have any record, just have it last a little while. Have one long-standing record with whatever it is.
How do you get up into the higher classes? Is it when you go through a certain amount of weight? Do you have to do a certain amount of hours? Do you have to do enough tournaments? How do you level up in that?
I mean, you compete in the opens and, win spots, go to different, invite onlys, you win spots there. I don't know how close I am to being able to attain like a spot just to compete against people in the nationals, but it's a small goal, but that's my next goal with strongman is just compete for a spot there.
I didn't realize strongman was big in this area. Like, where do they run all this stuff out of? Like, is it a lot of local tournaments in PA, or do you have to go to Jersey, or like what's?
There's a lot just in PA. It's just like any other real sport. Regional level, state, then you get a national, international, things like that. And everybody knows like World's Strongest Man. Those guys are just insane behemoths. Looking at what they do and having a small bit of that as, what I do to train, it's very, very different to watch it now, knowing like the stress that their bodies are under. And how long they've done
I'm
that.
sure it's a different way to view it.
Yeah.
What do you think you'll ever get into like the Celtic stuff, or like when they do the Celtic Classic? Do you like doing like that kind of competition and stuff?
End over end logs.
Yeah, where they're doing like the super stuff like that.
I would. I don't know how good I am because a lot of the stuff is there's technique to it.
Yeah.
That's what surprised me in that strongman competition. I did deadlift, I killed it. The Viking press, I killed it. But then we got to like the keg toss.
Yeah.
And these guys that like I crushed.
What are they? Is that the one where they throw it up over their head and
bar.
it's got to go over like a high jump?
Yeah.
I'm gonna come to the next one you do. They're fun. Well, it was fun watching it, but then like to hear that I didn't know this shit went on.
Yeah. It's big around here. There's several gyms that just really specialize in that. But yeah, these guys like. I wasn't expecting anything from them. Like I did the first like 2, and I was like, "Damn, that one was kind of hard." And these guys are just throwing.
Did you train for that specific one?
No. Like I said, the whole time leading up to that, I did the one deadlift session, so I had no idea I was going to do that well on deadlift. And I did like maybe 2 sessions of the Viking press, and I ended up winning that one too. And then there was the Atlas Stones over bar. I'd never lifted Atlas Stones until the competition.
How was that to deal with?
It was similar to the sandbag.
Yeah.
So I'd done sandbags, so I wasn't like completely lost. But a lot of times I was having to get like Steve or one of his friends like, "Hey, come over here and coach me like how to do this." And like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I've never done this before." And I'd do it like a couple times before the event started, and they're like, "All right, good luck."
Oh my God! Were you nervous at all because you didn't know what the fuck you were doing?
No.
Just didn't care. I mean, well, you also said the atmosphere isn't like.
Yeah, everybody's super supportive.
Yeah.
Like the weakest dude is gonna get super loud cheers.
Yeah.
And some of those small guys, put up pretty impressive numbers.
Yeah.
But I had no aspirations of it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I just want to be able to do the movements and like I'll feel good about myself.
Now, when you said you got bit hard with it, is that because when you went through it, you saw avenues that you could make it better and do it stronger? Because like that's how it is for me with cooking. Where like I did the event Saturday with the Cubans, but then like it was over and I sat down and Gina's like, "Stop it, relax," because she's like, "I can see the smoke coming out of your ears," because I was already like, all right, well if I could do that, I could do this, and I could do this, and I could have portioned this better, and I could put the ham on, and I could, like I'm obsessed with like how fast I want to go because I don't want people to wait. So is that kind of the similar mentality where like you kind of saw your fault or error where you were like, fuck, if I would have done it this way, because you're not getting 50 tries.
And not to say as an excuse or anything, but like I was just training out of my damn basement.
Yeah.
Like I had limited weights. I had limited stuff I could actually do. Now that I know a few of the people, like I know places I could train. I'm in Bryant's now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could 100% do it much better. Much better now.
Well, that's cool because now you knowing the avenues and like it's so crazy, but I love that attitude because it's how I get into shit where it's like, whatever, we're just doing it. You figure it out as you go. Yeah. But I feel like that's the best way for me to learn. And I love when I hear it from other people. But now that you have, even going to finishers and having that space in the back and then like going to these other gyms, it's like you'll be able to fully train. And what's your potential on that if you're already winning things when you didn't train at all? How do you think that you would throw Well, how did you do throwing the keg toss? Did you do okay, or did it like just go directly behind you and hit an old woman?
No, that's what I was. That's the only one I was nervous about. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, I could throw this thing straight
Or
up.
hurt yourself.
Yeah, and like land on me. I could hit somebody in the crowd.
End up on drunk people doing
Yeah.
things.
No, so like as soon as I got the first one over, I was like, oh hell yeah, like,
Yeah.
This is it.
How do you throw it though? Like, is it a weird like you pick it
gotta
up
like
from the
come
bottom?
up on your toes and bring it all the way.
Oh
over
yeah,
your head
so you're
before you
grabbing it
release.
by like where you pick the handle
Yeah.
up to move a keg.
So just learning the technique, I was like, okay, now I have to learn to be explosive with this technique. But I got all of them.
Because
I
what is
tried
it? Your
except
hips
the
and your
last
knees that you're pushing off of, and then it's the movement of your arms to
Yeah.
toss it up.
one. Yeah, because it's only like 55 pounds.
Yeah.
Is the heavy. I didn't get that one, but I got the 25, 35, 40.
Do they move the bar up?
No, the bar stayed for us at like 15 feet,
Yeah.
which isn't like super high, but it was high for me.
Yeah, no, that's high. So what other things do they have you do? Because now I'm realizing I saw the videos of you doing like the lifting and stuff, but I forgot about all like the keg toss and all that. So what are all the actual stations that you have to go to?
It's always different, or it's usually different. There's always some type of deadlift motion, usually a squat motion, some type of squat. There's a carry medley, which is, go pick up this. For that one, it was a 175-pound fire extinguisher. You ran that down. Then you had a 325-pound duck walk, which is, you hold the weights on a T-bar between your legs. And
It's
duck
already
walk across.
hurting my back. You just
And then
saying
it's like
that.
150-pound like sled drag.
Yeah.
So there's that, the keg toss, deadlift, Viking press, and Atlas stones.
And you're there
Stones
the
are
whole
usually
day?
there. Yes, it took forever. And deadlift was first. So I was kind of blown out after the deadlift. I was like, damn, that's like my best event, and now I'm tired.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even think of that. Now that you bring that up, is how do you maintain your energy all day long?
Just carbs.
Yeah, kind of
creatine,
watching yourself. if
making
you-
sure water.
Yeah, and then just kind of not exerting everything out. So you did the what was it? You said the squats first. What was
deadlift.
it? So
We
you did the deadlift, and then you have to do everything after that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's crazy, man. I don't know. I find it all super interesting. It's why I wanted to bring you on. Where do you see yourself going with all this stuff? Are you just going to kind of be competing back and forth and doing jujitsu and
Yeah,
you know?
compete back and forth as long as I can, because like I said, the carryover for what I'm doing just to train in general strength now is so conducive to grappling with sandbags and grips, and I want to get a yoke. That's my next investment, to just carry the weight across. But ultimately, it's an open sport. I'd like to eventually pursue it, at least for a year full time, just to see where I can go.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'd just like to, compete at least 6 times in a year,
Yeah.
and maybe like year after next, like I'll really be able to set across that much time to.
Do they have
chase it
that
down.
many events over the year?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like what's kind of like the major, like what's the top level biggest event that you can do doing that?
I mean, you can work your way all the way up to the world's strongest man.
That's what was on like TV and shit?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But I mean, those guys, like, will I ever get to that level? Probably not.
Yeah.
Those guys are lifetime. Like, they knew that's what they were just born to do.
Yeah. That's cool though. Have you done like the pulling trucks and stuff like that, or like get into competitions like that where you're pulling the stuff? I know, like, what do they pull? A train or a
Like a
plane?
train and a
yeah,
bus.
yeah.
I've never done it, like, for serious competition, but, like, we would do stuff like that in the military, like have Humvee pools and stuff.
Yeah. Did you like doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's different. And,
Yeah.
and then if you can structure it as a workout, it's like I'm knocking out 2 birds, 1 stone.
But that was the biggest thing I took from your social media is that you do workouts, but they're your version of workouts, and you're just kind of like finding these unique ways. I didn't know you were injured. So like that makes sense now that you were kind of, which is super impressive that you were pushing yourself through that mental to be doing other things while you're hurt. A friend of mine, he blew out both of his shoulders, and I mean, he's just been going nuts because he can't use his hands and he can't go back to work, and he's sitting on a couch and he's told not to do anything. I mean, that'll wreck your mental.
Yeah, I mean, like I've been there, you know.
Terrible.
People have told me, you know, doctors or just, you know, PTs have told me like, hey, you probably don't ever need to do this again and this again. And, you know, maybe they were right. Maybe like I'm gonna regret this in the future, but like that's in the future.
Yeah, why not live your life now?
I want to run it till the wheels fall off. Until then, you know, I don't feel like I'm doing anything ignorant. I feel like I'm strengthening areas that have been injured. You know, and it's working for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always wanted to sit down with you and do this, and I'm glad you said yes, because some people are like, what? Why would you want to just sit down and talk? But I just found it so interesting to watch the things that you do, and then after hearing it, it's super motivating to hear where you came from, which is fucking, you know, just trying to do this thing, and then you get fucked up by this guy, and then like, you know, and then not really having an outlet. And I feel like there's a lot of people who get caught in not having an outlet, and then you chose to go into the military, and then from coming out of there, it's like you always seem to land back on your feet to like be finding something motivating, finding something that you can push yourself through. And I know it's not all the time, and there's ups and downs in that, and there's leaps and bounds and times where you don't want to do any of this shit, but I love that you constantly keep pushing yourself. And then to find out that all the stuff I'm watching was because you were injured and you wanted to keep working out, the drive that you have, it's awesome. It's what I wanted to showcase on here. And then for you to be a part of Finishers, because you're just such a unique character with those guys, and I love that I get to meet so many people through that school. And then now to see that you're pushing yourself outside of that school and doing these strongman things, like I definitely want to go the next time that you do one of those strongmans. Everything, it's awesome what you're doing. I'm going to start wrapping up just because I don't want to keep us here all day. And I do want you to come back, and I want to start bringing on a couple different people from the school and just kind of hanging out and bullshit. And I just want to thank you for coming on. It was everything I wanted to get out of this. It was cool to put the pieces together for the story to unfold on how it did. But I want to give you a chance to kind of drop your social media, anything that you're doing, whether you're doing something at the school or you're doing something with these workouts or anything, but just kind of a way that anybody can start following along to watch you kind of push yourself further.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's at the Barilla Gorilla on Instagram.
Where did that come from?
So I forget who said it, but we were out at a gathering, and it was right after I just recently gotten injured, and somebody made the joke. They're like, yeah, don't do that to Josh. His fucking legs are made out of dried spaghetti. And so it was spaghetti legs, and then I kind of like adapted that into the Barilla Gorilla.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's at Barilla Gorilla?
At Barilla Gorilla. If you want to watch my dog drag me across the fucking hills of Pennsylvania or me pick some weird shit up, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, your stuff's good. I like it. It's fun to follow. It's cool. It's motivating to see the shit you're doing. I know you're not going to be in the basement anymore, but the workouts and stuff you do are just fun. It was just so obscure for me to see you doing the stuff you're doing, but it's like I said, it's a good follow. If you're a first-time listener, first-time watcher, first-time anything with Never Again, go to neveragainstudio.com. That has everything on there, from sponsoring the show to getting apparel made to anything at all. You can contact me at neveragainstudio@gmail.com. If you have any questions about the show or anything that I'm doing on Instagram, it's Never Again Studio. It's just Never Again Studio. Ooh, these Miller Lights. Keystone Munitions, nazoammo.com. If you need ammunition, hit me up. Go to nazoammo.com. We have a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. If you are from the school, do not go through me. Go through Zach. He gets his percentage because he's a sales guy for us. So if you need ammo and you're coming through Finishers, contact Zach. If you just need ammo, contact me. And thank you again for coming on, man. I definitely want to have you back on, and we'll have beers. It'll be less of an interview and more of a looser atmosphere.
Sounds good, man.
Thank you, man.
Never Again Radio. Get into it, brother.